All right, our second demo for the day before we break into lunch is going to be me bringing on Brian from RabbitHole. A lot of you have been in this space the last couple of years, and you've absolutely definitely have heard of what RabbitHole is. But today we're going to talk about a new product that RabbitHole has launched, and that is RabbitHole Quests. We're going to talk about what RabbitHole is doing to get more people into this space and how they're thinking about planning for getting even more millions of people to try out what's happening in all of our ecosystem. So without further ado, please welcome Brian to demo RabbitHole Quests.
How's everyone doing? It's funny. I worked with Benny at Dapper Labs. It's probably been 2018, 2019, and all of the ideas we were talking about then kind of have come to life in the past 5 or 6 years, which has been pretty crazy to see because at the time it kind of felt like this pipe dream. And so I'm just really excited for what's happening token-bound accounts. And you'll start to see in this demo some sort of parallels between how can we actually take token-bound accounts, this new primitive, and actually start combining it with things that RabbitHole's working on as well. So I don't have a fancy presentation like Benny has, but I will give you a demo of stuff that we've been working on behind the scenes. We actually just launched a lot of this stuff. So a quick background on me. I'm the founder of RabbitHole. Worked at OpenSea, worked at Dapper. But overall, the thing that we do the most is we help onboard people into the crypto space. So RabbitHole started in 2020. Really, the problem we're trying to solve all the time is, hey, everyone has tokens, but really on Binance and Coinbase, kind of like Metallic was saying, but no one actually uses this stuff. How do we actually get people doing things on-chain for the first time? And so we came up with this concept of quests in order to do that, and I will give you a demo of what that actually looks like. But before I do, my favorite book is Ready Player One. Who here has read the book or watched the movie Ready Player One? A lot of people here. So a lot of what's inspired myself and the company is just taking a lot of those concepts of what really excites us about digital scavenger hunts and kind of brings it on chain, because that's what actually makes blockchain possible. So I'm going to run through a demo really quickly, and there is a surprise for the audience as well if you want to play along as well. So let's start. I'm just going to sign in real quick. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start deploying a quest. So this is actually a digital scavenger hunt where you're going to do an on-chain action across Web3 and able to actually earn tokens for completing that action. So I'm going to select an action from a menu, and then I'll kind of show you how this whole process works. Feel free to play along. You'll earn tokens in the process as well. So I'm going to select our favorite, which is Uniswap. So the scavenger hunt here is you have to do a swap on Uniswap. We're going to make this available to everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean anyone. So lots of our users on the site right now are completing quests. They'll be able to complete this quest as well that I'll be putting here. Going to select an optimism. So a lot of our users are in random countries across the world. So we have 60 different countries that our users are in. So L2s really help us reach those users to have a really diverse user base. So we're going to have OP tokens. Going to have 2,000 OP tokens for this quest. So we're going to do this live. We're going to deploy 2,000 OP tokens. We're going to give everyone 40 OP tokens each for this scavenger hunt. So 40 participants are able to complete this quest. So we're gonna schedule this up and play right now. Don't start yet. It won't work. All right, so we're about to deploy the quest. Once the quest is deployed, I'm going to sign this message. All right, hopefully it doesn't break. First time we're doing a live demo. All right, give it a few more seconds. There we go, quest deployed successfully. So we're gonna now go to the quest details page here. So we see the quest is live. And now when we go to RabbitHole, we actually see this quest live right now. So right now, if you go to RabbitHole, you'll be able to see this quest. You'll be able to make a swap on Uniswap and Optimism and earn 40 OP tokens if you do that swap on Optimism. So this is right now a race. You could call this a digital scavenger hunt of sorts. So you're racing against our users in real time if you actually want to earn this token reward right now. And so just for context here, so this is actually a smart contract that was deployed on-chain that holds those tokens. And as users are able to complete each of these different on-chain actions, they're able to receive each of these different token rewards. So a lot of the time, we're working on L2s. You see a variety of different quests here as well. So you can think of this page here as sort of your quest inbox. So anyone can send and receive quests. And just like how you can send and receive email, only certain users may be eligible for certain quests depending on their on-chain behavior. So the more transaction history you have, the more assets you have, the more that you actually get eligible for these quests in itself. So let's check in on the progress of some of these quests. So it looks like we don't have anyone who completed it yet, but we will probably soon because there is a pretty hefty reward here. But what you're able to see here is all the quests that have been deployed on the Quest protocol to date. And what's interesting is that lots of users are using this thing every single day. So even in the past month, we've had about 150,000 users come through the platform. Looks like the demo failed on me, so I can't show you that chart. But we have a bunch of users coming through that are able to complete these quests. And what we're really seeing across the board in RabbitHole is lots of users come to the platform for the first time and are able to earn their first crypto because of L2s, and what actually makes it possible to have low transaction fees. And so we work a lot with protocols across the space to actually help them with their token distributions in the first cases, where they can actually deposit tokens to the contract, select the users that they want eligible, and then they can brush it wide to a very wide user base as well. So there we go. So 131,000 users have completed a quest in the past month alone. So just really excited about what we've had so far come here. So let's check on the progress for quests. See if anyone's completed here. All right. Nice refreshing. And it looks like the site crashed with people trying to access it. So we did have a failed demo in the process. But anyway, hope you guys are able to complete that quest on your own accord, get that 40 OP. And just if you want to check out the site, rabbithole.gg, we're deploying quests every day. We have community members deploying quests. We have protocols deploying quests. It's a permissionless protocol, open to everyone, uses smart contracts across every EVM network. So go check it out. Thank you.
Awesome. I feel like if you refresh a couple more times, it'll eventually work. It's probably a WebSockets thing, but I want to talk to you about a few more things around a lot of your inspiration around starting RabbitHole, and especially when you kind of got started in 2020. That was kind of the moment where everything was just beginning to heat up. Like DeFi became a thing.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to figure out what they can do with COVID starting. And that's what really changed a lot of the game around how we think about this ecosystem.
Yeah, 2020 was that really pivotal year for the space because it was really the first time where people started doing different actions on chain, mostly with DeFi. There were high yields that were bringing people to space, but it was interesting because it was this first time where you had many people had their money on centralized exchanges, now kind of discovering this entire on-chain world of DeFi primitives. And the question we were trying to face at the time and talking to just starting out was the protocols like, hey, we have these token holders for all on centralized exchanges, but nobody actually even knows we have a product. Actually, everyone thinks we're a meme for the most cases. We're just talking about it on Twitter and talking about the hashtag itself. So how do we actually get people using these things? And so a lot of experimentation in the early days, but we take a lot of inspiration from this drops concept. It's actually very popular in the consumer world and
video games too.
Video games too, exactly. And Ready Player One. And so driving a lot of inspiration from that, we're actually able to create this funnels of attention to actually have users complete an action and receive a reward in real time for doing it. And that drove a lot of activity to users actually interacting with these protocols for the first time. So what we're seeing really across the board is just this gaming interest that's kind of translated across the board. We're seeing this with token-bound accounts in the metaverse or things like Quest that are really just driving lots of usage, especially in countries, especially in Asia, across the board.
No, that's amazing. And one obvious thing here is that it clearly is working. I mean, I just saw everybody on their phones as you were demoing, trying to be the first one of the 50. And somebody just claimed. That's even better.
It should be an on-chain transaction, so you'll have to confirm that transaction.
You'll have to make
it's proof of receipt of quest completion. Try refreshing. Always
good thing is we can trace that it's on chain.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, well, everything is on chain as part of this, and this is intentional and by design. What are some benefits of doing this, and why did you choose to keep everything on chain?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we took a progressive decentralization approach. In the early days, we wanted to be able just to move fast. And actually moving things on chain, it wasn't even until year 2, which got the benefits of having this thing just the product itself being more streamlined, to having anyone be able to deposit a token into the contract rather than just a permission party in the first cases. That kind of opened up a new variety of use cases. But what's really interesting about Quest is that it may seem like just a game in the first cases, but what we kind of look at it internally is really a social coordination tool, right? Because you could have any action assigned to with any token, and you're able to drive mass amount of transactions in a very short period of time. So if you actually want to coordinate large amount of users to go take an action, you could do it very quickly with Quest. So if that is kind of the key unlock that hasn't been possible before with crypto.
That says you've gamified 51% attacks.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it.
No, that's actually super cool because effectively, to me, what you talked about is, well, people get to have others try it out, but at least the way I understood this is like you're effectively giving people a really tight feedback loop to how do you improve the product. If suddenly 10,000 people go to some site and they realize that these are the 500 most common complaints, you've given that feedback to the developers to improve it, and that's also either intentional or a really good side effect.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's one of the most common use cases that we see all the time is protocols or developers that want to get feedback or want to have users, even on test nets as well, because we support test nets, that want to just drive usage, get user feedback, see how people are playing around with it. It's a really good way just to incentivize usage, kind of bootstrap that early user base to see if things are working or not.
What's kind of been the most technically challenging piece on kind of getting this going?
Yeah, the most technically challenging part actually is able to verify these transactions have completed at scale, right? So of course, not the entire stack of RabbitHole is decentralized right now. We still have this indexer, this transaction indexer that is actually verifying if these transactions completed. Right now, that is basically running on some server. We're basically having it from full node. And the goal is to have everything decentralized across the board so that the protocol and the platform and everything can run without RabbitHole's control in that aspect. And so the way to actually get there is we're actually looking into technologies like ZK proofs, where you could actually start using ZK snarks to actually verify that these things have been completed on chain. So there is that kind of the trade-off of, hey, do you actually want to have this additional verification on chain and pay additional extra cost, maybe sacrifice a little bit of latency, but probably have something more decentralized that anyone can use, anyone can spin up at the same time. So those are kind
some
of
privacy for the user. You kind of get limited.
Exactly, and that's kind of the other side of this coin is, you have lots of these users who are now able to earn and have a lot of their transaction history that's publicly available to everyone. Now, what does that look like on the privacy side as well when you're kind of getting targeted? The analogy that a lot of people use with something like Quest platform is kind of like advertising, right? It's more of a crypto native advertising tool where you're able to do targeting of people with these rewards itself, which of course has its own set of problems in Web 2, as the crypto industry likes to say.
Distribution still matters.
That's right. That's right.
So in the last 2 years, what's kind of surprised you the most about the community in terms of how they've reacted?
Yeah, there's really been this explosion of use cases that we just really haven't expected. So when you have a very simple primitive, such as being able to have a token reward that goes to any on-chain action, as the actions start to expand, you kind of see this new wave of use cases that weren't possible for. As a very simple example, Sound XYZ, which is this NFT music platform that's getting a lot of popularity recently, is using quests to incentivize. So NFT music artists are able to incentivize collectors to collect their music, right? And what that's able to do is now you're able to actually target specific collectors to say, hey, by you collecting my new music NFT, you're actually tastemaking in that regard. So it's do additional targeting on top of that. So we're seeing a variety of those use cases happen across the space right now. And so with every new action, with every new protocol launching, a new kind of use case emerges for a simple primitive like quests.
Yeah, so you've effectively given an advertising platform to anybody, not just companies, and
that's right.
Scales really well.
That's right, and it's I think one of the more interesting things about that is I think when we started, we were really working with protocols and most for distributing their token, and then what's actually been most surprising, it's actually these creators and sort of the issuers of these platforms itself that find actually the biggest use cases, because those are the ones that actually want to drive a lot of their community engagement, not just from the protocol side, like the NFT music artist on its own. So that's been probably one of the biggest surprises.
I mean, that's a pretty good side effect, because you've discovered and unlocked an experience for a whole new audience that never thought they would have a tool like this.
Yeah, that's totally right.
So people now have the ability to, in a way, effectively reach mass audiences and gamify or incentivize them in different ways. Everything is on-chain. There's a social graph of all these things. Sounds to me that we're kind of creating a new future of work here. Fast forward 3 years from now, what do you kind of think RabbitHole looks like, or what do you think will become the new norm?
What's really interesting when you kind of break down what a quest is, it's really just assigning a task to be done with some financial incentive or some ownership incentive kind of attached to it as well. And so, and you don't even need to know someone's identity. All you need to know, are they able to do the task itself? And because they have this on-chain resume or transaction history, you know that they're capable. This kind of unlocks an entirely new way of just thinking about work to be done inside of these decentralized protocols. And so that is kind of what this future may look like in 5 or 10 years, where you're not actually forming companies, but when you're creating a new decentralized network or community, you're actually be able to recruit people by giving them token ownership for completing different on-chain tasks or doing transactions inside of that network itself. And maybe it is also token-bound accounts or NPCs that are also being recruited inside of these decentralized communities.
3 years, those timelines overlap.
Yeah, I mean, 5 or 10 years, definitely. That's for sure.
Well, that's awesome to get to see that. And it's great to see that hundreds of thousands of people have already used it and have basically onboarded themselves into not only just crypto, but also a specific community that they're passionate about.
Yeah, no, definitely. Really excited about the progress. And I think with a lot of L2s really starting to ramp up now and transaction costs going even deeper, we'll probably even see an explosion of just a lot of users, especially in Asia, in South America, in Africa, really starting to use this technology as a way to get on-ramped for the first time. That's kind of what we're seeing right now across the board.
Can't wait for that. Brian, thank you so much for this amazing discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Can't wait for others to try out quests.